honored to be here. I was actually a little intimidated by the last session because reality kind of set in. Like, man, universities are like businesses. And I've been in a big business, so I know how difficult that is to kind of get alignment. But I'm going to try to set some context on what I'm going to try to do in this room with folks. First, I have to ask a question. Please raise your hand if you're a person that is a glass half full. Let's see. All right, I got something to work with here. No, on a serious note, you know, the last session, higher education, and where we are as the state of the business, there were some really eye openers. I think it was Alex, the lead, led the conversation. That was really straightforward. Talked about the economic challenges that you have to try to balance some of the issues that you have to drive sustainability and impact. The campus is so huge here, 180,000 students. It's basically a small city. And so how do you get anything done if you don't have alignment? And at the same time, you're pushing the envelope on innovation, meaning all the new technologies here, how do you get it integrated into your business, into your campus? And then dealing with the infrastructure that's been neglected when we talked about deferred maintenance. It's a heck of a challenge. The business I was in prior to this was in 134 different countries, 3 different business units and a franchise business unit with unit economics that were like based on pennies. So I do feel your pain at times, and I know you guys do the hard work. Who was here last night and saw Brian perform? Raise your hand if you're here. So if you look up on the screen, Brian hit on a note for me that's really important. Because at the end of the day, the question is, why are we doing all this? What is the purpose? And for him to authentically share his life's journey, the good and the bad and the ugly and the redemption and what he's doing now, I thought was a beautiful conversation. It was a beautiful way to share the importance of building true relationships and understanding what's important. So I think we're all here because we have those things that we care about. When I think about playing for the next generation, it's just not a tagline for what we do. And we'll talk more about what we do and how that integrates into the work that you do. So before I get there, I do want to talk a little bit about myself and my personal journey. I came up with this quirky thing. My wife hates it. It's called F squared, C squared. I'm an engineer, as Michael said. And I played a little sport when I was in college and a little overseas. And the thing about F squared is it's faith, family, which is the F squared, community, and then career. And some things came up today about culture. And how do we want to leverage culture with how we live with each other and how we work together? And I think the optimism is really important because we do have some serious challenges ahead, but look how far we've come. And I don't think we take enough time to recognize how much progress that we've really made. I was on the trail. Who was on the trail yesterday? Can anybody tell me how old that road was and what that road was used for and how far it goes? So thinking of that to where we are now, it's amazing what we can do when we collaborate, when we don't compete, but we collaborate and understand how we can work together. So this is what this is about. This is about the belief that sports, entertainment, music, culture, and arts has the ability to transcend gender, race, language, nationalities, economic status, and that we can focus on how do we work together to be more creative, to collaborate, to leverage those resources that we have in front of us and engage and tell that story that we want to tell, show that story, incrementally get there, like take that one bite of the elephant at a time that we heard Alex talk about. So that's what I'm doing. I was fortunate. I was in a business that grew 600 to 800%. We had 20,000 restaurants. We went to 44,000 restaurants. I became their first ever chief sustainability officer because not that the position existed before, but I saw a need in the business. I saw the struggles that we had not to be able to connect the dots and understand how we leverage, not just for philanthropic benefit, but for economic benefit, like the power of the and, like for both. And that's what we're talking about. So at the Green Sports Alliance, that's what we do. We have a vision and a mission to drive and leverage the cultural influence of sports and music and entertainment for the power of good, for the power of environmental and social sustainability. And so I have a very strong board. These folks are like you, have those challenging jobs of, hey, just lost my water main and, it just flooded. And I got that call in the middle of the night. I used to be there. I used to do that work. My prior job before YUM, I worked in a manufacturing facility. So I understand maintenance and reliability and systems and organization and investment. So it's important for us because those economics never go away. It's just how we can position ourselves. So what we do at the Green Sports Alliance, we do similar here. We convene, we educate, we share best practices, we leverage innovation from each other and share that across the industry so that we can accelerate and move faster. We do that through symposiums, webinars, networking, and things called playbooks, which I'll talk a little bit later more about. Our summit is interesting. We get the likes of FIFA, which will be here in 2026, which if you think about their impact and the number of eyeballs that watch them, because I think that's what we want to unlock, is this idea of who is the next generation? Where does the next generation of leadership come from? Universities play a critical role in that. We talked about the workforce development and the issues that we have there. The idea of bringing people together and recognizing their accomplishments in a very authentic way is really important. And that's one of the things we do in our annual summit. We actually award recognition for what we call Play to Zero awards, which are for universities and for professional sports teams, their ability to drive significant change, different levels from 30% to 50% to 90% on waste, zero waste initiatives, decarbonization initiatives. We'd like to recognize them and let them tell their story in partnership with folks in here that are we call the solutions providers. Because as we talk about this, you don't do anything alone. You're not just a one-person team. You're a collective. And it's important to have the power of those innovators and those solutions providers behind you as you look for those solutions. So what does that look like?
Today is GSA's first summit in Los Angeles, the first 100% reuse summit, and the first summit at an entertainment campus where we will bring sports, music, and culture together for 2 days of best-in-class ideas, solutions, and inspiration.
This has been a dream come true for a lot of people. To be sitting in this iconic space in this time is amazing. And why we're here is not for self. It's about building teams. It's about looking at what we can do together as a human society.
When you're thinking about your sustainability strategy, I urge people to think of what is the big picture of the change that you want to see in the world.
You think about all of the amazing, enormous organizations that feed people worldwide, that's when you can really make an impact.
We pledge to continue to be a leader in the sustainability space. I am truly honored and humbled in accepting this prestigious award.
Even sitting here right now, I just think that we all just have to make sure that we continue to educate our youth. They want to know that it's cool, that it's okay to protect the environment. So for me, it's just always about passing on what knowledge I have.
So the Faster, Further Together, I'm proud of that, but it was definitely a collection of individuals who believe in the power of sports and music and entertainment to truly change the world. And we've seen examples of that. Maggie Baird was on that. Her daughter's Billie Eilish, if you've ever heard that name, or maybe your daughter has. She believes in Support and Feed, which is a way to capture reuse food and plant-based plant-forward types of nutrition that allows people to, have access to food that's healthy. So when we think about sustainability, it's the most ambiguous word we hear today, right? What does it mean? And from the basic human side, it's about clean air, clean water, but it's also about equity and opportunity. It's about community solar and leveraging those opportunities for everyone, for all. It's about the resiliency in the systems that we talk about. It's about clean oceans and having, our oceans be able to support life because it gives us food. And so it's a big picture. We talked about not boiling an ocean because everything is local when we really get down to it. But having those ideals, I think, is a key part of it. And so how do we go from this high level, thought process of, utopia in a way to reality, which you guys face every day? And that's through playbooks. That's through execution, what you see on the field. It's in real time. It's about winning. It's about making sure you hit your objectives. And if you go ahead and look at the QR codes, those are live right now. These are like 60-page documents that are case studies from Gillette Stadium to Lincoln Financial Field to others that are actually doing it today that I believe could be inspiration for you folks here to figure out. And then we had this conversation, I think, with the gentleman back here at the table. We talked about, like, how do you leverage your resources that exist on your campus? How do you tie in your engineers and your thought processes to figure out how to solve solutions right in your own backyard? How do you leverage your students to be activists to help you tell the story where the president and the board of trustees begin to listen? Because remember, higher education in these institutions are for the students. Without the students, we don't exist, right? Without the fans, who's going to be watching? How do you get those contracts? So it all comes back to a consumer-facing opportunity. We get caught up so much in the business, we get caught up so much in the economics that I think we tend to forget about that. We get caught up in what's next sometimes that we don't recognize what we have accomplished together. So I'm happy about, I'm inspired about it. I have 4 kids, I have 2 daughters that have played at a high level in volleyball. And so, and I also had a chance to dribble the ball back in my day. And I believe it is a vehicle beyond just what it is. I think it does connect people. And I can happily admit that I'm a Bearcat, and I don't want to offend anybody out here because I've seen a lot of different universities, but I know it's a tough job. I really do. I know that facilities, pressure is real, but I also believe there's opportunity for you guys to connect to these platforms to help you with your jobs to be successful, to help set a different way of thinking and leverage what that innovation can be on the social innovation side, not just on the technical innovation side. Because we kept saying about what is influence, right? What is influence? So there's another playbook to get back to the brass knuckles. This one was specifically designed to talk to owners of venues who are investing $3 to $4 billion in a facility and not engineering out sustainability at the last minute when they're working with Populous or some of the big guys because it costs more. But at the end of the day, is there a payback? And how do you present strategies to have that conversation? And then what do you use case studies to back it up? So think about it. If we take the power, like right here in Phoenix, we've got the Phoenix Suns, we got the Arizona Cardinals. What is the collective impact if we work together and think about community in mind, but also figure out infrastructure needs that help all of us, that support all of us and drive us to those goals that we have, because 2030 is right around the corner. And I used to say this when I was at Yum. It's like I would say, when China sneezes, we catch a cold. When a butterfly flaps his wings in Shanghai, it's a tsunami over here. So we're all connected. And you guys know this because you're not just here, you have influence around the world. Think about your alumni network. 180,000, I'm using this as a case study, 180,000 students, and they're successful. A lot of them are very successful. So are we really leveraging our power? Are we really collaborating or are we competing? And shouldn't we be collaborating on saving the planet and having the environment that all of us deserve? Clean air, clean water, and enough resources for everyone? But do we behave that way? So that's the challenge, right? So I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to breeze through this. So no more, you can, again, QR code gives you all the details. If you want to have reuse and get to zero waste at your stadium, you can do it. And that's just a, just a start. We work with The ACC and Duke, they have their own sustainability conference. We were at University of Miami talking about this, but the question was, how do I connect the athletic department? How do I collect to the facilities and ops groups? How to look at building and construction? Like, how do we all have the same conversations and start to figure out our same common goals, right? North Carolina State broke out and had their zero waste initiative. And so you start small. This is a case study that I want you guys to really Google, because this is the first one of its kind in the country. It was Texas A&M, and they got the athletic director and the whole department to communicate, and together they formed the whole sustainability master plan. And I know those guys sometimes feel like they're on a high pedestal and you can't get to them, but you can get to them. You can get to them. We just have to be creative on how we get to them. Maybe that's a conversation we could have later. And then this is just another conversation about a smaller school. You don't have to be a Power 5 school to make this happen and to advance it. And obviously, you have consultants here, you have technology here, you've been probably career in this, knowing who you can rely on. But there's others out there, and there may be new ways to think about this, from a business model perspective. So, with no further ado, because this was a fast-paced session, and I do appreciate you all listening and giving me the time. And Tracy, I do appreciate you and Michael inviting me back. I was here in New York with the Influence Group. Well, that was probably before the Influence Group started, because I think it was, it was Miami and then New York City. So it's great to be back. But I'll leave you with this. Climate action is a team sport. We all have something on the line. If you're thinking about the next generation, which I think we should be, we all have skin in the game. Doesn't matter where we come from, what job we have, what language we speak, our economic status. At the end of the day, we're all in it together as human beings. So I appreciate your time, appreciate you listening. Ask any questions you may have.